Jen Milyko. I'm a cartographer for adventure cycling, and the projects I work on are everything from new maps to reprints to Addenda, which is our online updating system for in-between reprints. And I also do a bunch of social media stuff. I get to write a blog post every week. I have a Twitter account that I manage and help keep track of what's going on Facebook as well. When I first started, they were just beginning the transition to computer-made maps. So at that time, they were still layered pen and ink, waxed paper. It was a manual proposition. So they were just changing over from 3-color and that process to a 4-color computer-generated process. And we've advanced that as far as we could, and now we're starting to integrate GIS data into the map production. That's going to be, it's our long-term project, is to get everything converted over to that, because it'll give us more information for cyclists, have shaded relief, which makes the maps more attractive and we hope more informative for folks to get at a glance what kind of terrain they'll be riding through. It's a variety of sources. We really depend on cyclists on the road to send us information that, you know, hey, this restaurant doesn't exist anymore, this hotel doesn't exist, or this hotel was really friendly to us, they let us bring our bike inside. That kind of information is always helpful. We have several avenues for receiving that. From the old-fashioned handwritten letter or postcard. Every map goes out with a map correction postcard. We also have that form available online. Of course, the Twitter feed has become a new resource for sharing that kind of information. And, you know, always you can call us on the 1-800 number and share that information too. Usually a route idea will come from, you know, a club, or there'll be a strong membership pull for it. And our latest route that we're starting to develop is Route 66. And that one is in some ways going to be already predetermined, because we're trying to follow the existing Route 66. But there will be some wayfinding that'll have to happen, and that'll happen when we send out our researchers. We'll give them a basic guideline of where we think it should go, and then it's up to our researchers to decide if that really is the best choice. Well, they look for the availability of lodging, camping, making sure if it's if it's a full-service town, which means it'll have lodging, a post office, a grocery store, a gas station, and a restaurant. That makes a town a full-service town. So they're checking all of that information. It used to be that they had to check for all of the sheriff numbers and emergency phone numbers, but pretty much 911 is countrywide at this point. And almost all of that emergency information we can gather from the internet. Most counties have some sort of a website with an emergency and non-emergency contact numbers. So they also are collecting distances. So we have the route, and then we want to know how far and how to get to campground A. So they'll actually drive out and figure out what the directions are to get there, because it's as you know, it's a little bit exhausting if you're lost looking for your campground, so we try to eliminate that as much as possible. Uh, 4 to 6 years, depending. Right now we are so backed up with, backed up maybe not the right word, but we are so loaded with work that we've kind of had to slow the timeline down just a little bit for the Route 66 that's coming. And the other piece of that is we're going to be working a lot with local organizations and statewide organizations, more community development, because there's a historic route similar to our Lewis and Clark or Underground Railroad routes. So those kind of partnerships tend to take a little bit longer, but they tend to be better information too, so it's worthwhile. And I think it frustrates people a little bit, because they think, well, I can go to Google Maps and just click and point and I have a route. And you do, and for some routes that is perfectly adequate and you don't really need anything else. But for all of the other things that we offer on our maps, it takes time. And it's, I don't think it's ever going to be a point-and-click operation. So. Well, Twin Bridges, Montana is one of our really classic examples. A gentleman in town just noticed that these cyclists were coming through and looking for a place to camp, and somehow he worked with the city and they built, for an investment of about $10,000, a building and a space for working on your bike, place to camp. I think it's right on the river. Service information, so where to go in town for what you need. There was a little bit of opposition from some of the hotel operators in town. They were afraid it was going to take business away from them, but honestly, most of the people, unless they're splurging, most of the people, if they're staying in a hotel, they're already going to stay in a hotel. They aren't going to be interested in this cyclist-only lodging option. So it's really, I doubt that it's had much impact on their business in particular. Other businesses have been really excited to see cyclists choosing to stay overnight in their community. Another great example is in Farmington, Missouri. They, in the last about 5 years, have opened up a hostel that's in their old county jail. And so now they've got this full-service hostel. And then this last spring, they got a bike shop. And so one of the bike shops in St. Louis decided, they got talked into opening up a little side branch, and I'll be excited to see how they've fared by the end of the summer. I have a hunch they will have done all right. Really, I get that question fairly often, probably 2 or 3 times a month. I see all these cyclists going by, what can I do?
Like what kind of things do you guys suggest?
Things like, like when I have B&Bs or hotels contact me, I say have old rags available that you don't care what happens to them, because it's nice to be able to wipe your bike down, have a floor pump, maybe an area to work on your bike. I mean, if you really have a space, then a bike stand would be a really nice addition. Inside storage for bikes. Maybe a small selection of some of the popular sizes of tubes, those kinds of things.
They're all pretty low capital investment.
They really are. I mean, it doesn't take a whole lot really. If there's access to Wi-Fi, that's really popular anymore, and a lot of hotels already have that anyway. So those are really the basic kind of things that I often recommend.
So when you make those suggestions, what's usually the response from the operators?
That's easy. Yeah, I can do that. Or sometimes they're already doing that, and so then I have to rack my brain for, okay, so what other great idea can I, pass their way? One of the things that's kind of surprised me, and in a really delightful way, is when I ask people whether they're from the U.S. or whether they're from a foreign country, I ask them, so what's been the highlight? What's been your favorite thing? And I expect to hear things like the Tetons or Yellowstone Park, but 9 times out of 10, the first thing out of their mouth is the people. It's really fills me with hope for the world that really, in the end, it still all comes down to people. The news is filled with a lot of really dark happenings, and on the days when I get to be greeter and connect with people that are having that kind of down-to-earth sort of experience, that's what fills me up and keeps me going.